Chapter 1. Jack the Racer. Anti-gravity racing is tough with a hangover. At 600 miles an hour, the track can feel like an unpredictable ocean, offering death at a moment's notice. That's why I've got my mantra, to remind myself that I control the ship.
Disruptor incoming.
My craft interrupted. I overclocked the thruster and managed to cut in front of another racer. The disruptor hit them instead. Scraps held their momentum for a moment, but soon it was all behind me. I'd have to keep the wreck in mind for lap 3. The Digitizer hadn't had a mishap since last quarter. I assured myself that the pilot was beamed back to safety nanoseconds before the collision. Even if the Digitizer didn't kick in on time, how is that my fault? I control the ship, my jaw clenched. Beneath a transparent straightaway of blue-tinted glass, tens of thousands watched me from extravagant casinos. I passed through their thundercloud of applause. It roared and then vanished. Only amateurs let it go to their heads. The crowd wasn't here for us. It was here for the spectacle. The ill-maintained chassis trembled at the speed. Just one more win, and I wouldn't gamble it all away this time. I'd patch up the ship and catch up on rent, just like Sue wanted, but not before I took her somewhere really nice. A little vacation. Maybe, if I had a few bucks left over, I'd invest in something smart. And if I still managed to hold on to something, yeah, I'd bet on a race, but it would be the last one. I was finally letting the urge go, so it would be a lucky race. My trash can breezed right past the last ship, which was one of the more angular Russian models. If I was going to dismantle into a bloody skid mark, at least I'd do it while leading the pack. Next was the swivel, a series of brief curves that had me rhythmically tapping between the air brakes, sliding left, right, half a dozen times at least. I clipped the back of my frame. Any closer to the wall, and I would have been caught in a spin and properly fucked. Then, the track shot directly upward in a vertical climb. My ship's undercarriage tractor drew a lot of power, dampening my speed and allowing them to gain on me. But it kept a tight grip on the track. The brief curve at the peak offered a final sight of the neon city before I descended at top speeds. A blink later, I was back over the arid sea of sand again, squinting in the sun. The fucker had annoyingly perfect aim, probably enhanced. The rockets were closing in. Then came my salvation, the hairpin turn. I killed the booster and hit the left air brake, hard. I smoothly rotated 180 degrees and finessed my velocity around the tight turn, and boy did I feel it. My inertial compressor was fucked. The energy rocket flashed by me. Then I hit the booster and started my final lap.
Warning, hull integrity at 20%, slow speed finalized.
I muted the system. I control the ship. I steadied my breathing and eased up on the thruster. It had been 2 years since I had such a lead. I passed by the wreckage from the previous lap. The Digitizer hadn't worked after all. A whole body of blood was smeared on the track. Felt dirty just to hover past it. Poor guy. Still, not my fault. Chapter 2. Timaeus. It's common knowledge that the more habitable Outworlder colonies eventually form societies on other planets, and over the last couple of centuries, they have finally reconnected with us Earthlings. All that is to explain the Proximans. Out of all the alien societies that returned home, it was immediately clear that they were the most attractive. Due to their new sun, the Proximans had a subtle tint of blue to their skin that felt fresh to love, and they seemed to effortlessly retain the most desirable of figures. I mean, I tried not to stare at the woman who handed me the trophy, but her curves were just unfair. And so I watched her, as millions watched me, in person and from across the stars, in a voyeuristic chain. But I didn't want the recognition. I was just addicted to the speed, overtaking the fucker ahead of me. I love risking my life with each and every lap, gambling with my blood, and getting fucking paid for it. I have problems. I ducked away as soon as I could. There was only one way to make this migraine go away. Knock back as many drinks as it took to get here, and then 2 or 3 more. First, I needed to change out of my suit. Can't have people following me around. I went into the Lev trailer and closed the door. Someone followed me in. They kicked the shit out of me.
You lost every race before this one!
I recognized the voice. It was my manager. He and his goon gave me a second beating. What do you want, Zane? Wrong question. Another gut punch.
I bet 8 million credits against your favor, and you go and fucking win? You were supposed to die!
Die? What? Zane grinned and ignited an energy knife. That was when it all clicked. Elimination by Disruptor was exceedingly rare. The weapon meant for me that had killed the other racer was hacked, overpowered against regulations. Somebody knocked. He frowned and turned off the knife before whispering,
Don't say a goddamn word.
I was prodded outside by his thug. It was a lucky race, and I was hoping that luck had followed me off the track. As I stepped out of the Lev trailer, my hopes were realized. The blue and yellow suit was unmistakable. The young man wore stylish shades, and his fade was higher than I was. I knew his chiseled face as any other racer would. This was Rudyard Renz, the manager for Earth Team Timaeus. The person we all hoped might show up one day. There are many AG tracks on Earth, and it's taken me over a decade to work my way up to the International League. But Timaeus is not an international team. It's an interstellar team. Renz got right to the point.
We were invested in Bastion's pilot, but he's dead now, so we're taking Jack.
He is not for sale.
My manager glared at me. I couldn't believe he was passing up a big bag of money just so that he could kill me. The guy had a problem with values.
Yes, he is.
You think just because you're an interstellar team...
We were surrounded by armed guards in Timaeus uniforms as Renz paced.
You conspired the hacking of an illegal weapon on the track today. It killed the pilot we were most confident in, and we are taking your pilot as restitution. You are being let off easy.
I would never dishonor the sport in such a way.
I spoke up. He was actually trying to kill me and hit the other guy instead. Still wants me dead. Renz thought for a moment.
Is that so?
He snapped his fingers.
Wait!
Zane was pierced by a dozen silent beams from flash pistols. I went from being in the hands of cold killers to even colder ones.
That leaves it up to you, Jack. How do you feel about racing for Timaeus?
I was dumbfounded. Renz was giving me a choice? It's all I've ever wanted. As soon as I spoke, I knew she would hate me for it. Chapter 3. Billy Sue. I changed so nobody would recognize me. I did carry the helmet though, just in case I wanted people to recognize me. I was doing good that day. The whole damn check made it back. Billy Sue wrapped her arms around me as soon as I got through the door.
You won, baby!
She kissed me more aggressively than she ever had. Suddenly, I remembered there was another way to cure a headache. We were smoking in bed, curled up together. I still felt like shit, but I was hot shit. Even she thought so this time.
You didn't have a single drink today?
I shook my head as our smiles beamed centimeters away from each other.
And you didn't go into a casino? Even though your race was in freaking Vegas?
I pondered on that for a moment, wondering if I should even be proud. Honestly, I feel like I would have won something. She certainly found it as a reason to celebrate. One more smoke later, and we were both out of breath and covered in sweat. She stood to crack open a window, and I leaned back against the headboard to watch her nude frame in satisfaction.
Jack, you won more money just today than you have over the last 3 years. This is enough to keep us happy for a long time if we're careful with it. Our dream can finally come true.
She slid back beneath the covers and laid her head across my chest.
You can stop this dangerous AG racing and take your time to find something secure and close to home. We can be a family. And what perfect timing. I've been meaning to tell you.
Change of plans, Billy Sue. I still hate myself for how casually I interrupted her. You will never guess what happened to me after the race. I had a meeting with Mr. Renz, the manager of Timaeus. He asked me to represent Earth in the Interstellar Championship. Her love became distant as she peeled away, taking the sheet with her.
You said no, right?
I laughed, assuming she was joking. She glared at me. I said yes. I get to go to space and make millions of dollars for us. This kicks ass.
I don't want millions of dollars. I want you here with me. You didn't even think to ask me?
You were telling me to go faster and faster not 5 minutes ago. How come you're trying to slow me down again? You always do this.
I'm sick of missing you. All you care about is racing and gambling. We've been together for 5 years and it's never changed. I've never been your priority. Maybe my dad was right. You'll never grow up.
Grow up? Just today, I made more than your dad has ever made in a year. I'm the best racer on the planet.
Yes, great to know. You're good at racing. Bravo, Jack. But have you ever stopped to think about what it's all for?
I'm a racer, and I'll always be a racer. Why does it have to be for anything?
Oh, because I thought it was for us.
Come on, Sue.
You don't care about me at all, do you?
What? Of course I do.
Just not when you're racing. And now all you'll be doing is racing. An interstellar championship last year's, Jack.
She stood up and got to dressing herself. Where are you going?
I want a family, Jack. With or without you.
I waited for a month. Sue never came back. It's a dangerous combination to have a fuckwad of money and nobody to spoil. I took the direct lift back to Vegas. I couldn't get wasted enough. Nothing would scratch the itch. So as I toured my favorite casinos, I hit up one of the wood dispensaries. On Zython, they have giant trees. If the trunk turns red, you can cut out a chunk of it, chew on it for a while, and it'll take you right to space. That is to say that it will get you disgustingly high. Cards felt more flush against my fingers, and dice rolled from my palm more gracefully. Soon, I was down to my last 10,000, and I decided it was time to walk. I needed to make sure I still had drinking money till the next race. I was seized and carried out of the casino. I'm leaving anyway! The henchman brought me into an alley where Renz was waiting in a luxurious craft.
Let's hit the road, Jack.
Chapter 4. Jack in Space. I woke up in a suite with no recollection of how I had gotten there. A woman I didn't know stared out a black window wall from the couch. I shrugged and turned around to snooze for a few more hours. Her bare footsteps padded across the marble floor.
You're awake. I saw you look up.
I grumbled as the woman shook me. She sat down on the other side of the bed and massaged my shoulder.
Mr. Wren said to take care of you while you're at the station.
I jolted awake. The station? I stood, realizing I was in a robe. Earth League Station? I raced around the suite, sweaty feet sticking to the red-brown marble. The woman anxiously followed me.
Yes. Like I was saying, Mr. Renz wants you at your best. He hired me to, look after you.
I gazed through the window wall. The Earth itself hung suspended in space far below. An endless sea of stars stretched forever in every direction. Holy shit, I'm in space. The woman playfully leaned herself against my arm.
Did you hear me?
A dream I never counted on had come true. I'm not special or anything. Every kid wanted to go to space one day. We all knew what an incredible time we lived in. There were distant, Earth-like planets with cities and AG tracks out there, and now it was more feasible than ever to explore. I made it, but I wanted more.
You were tossing and turning all night. I held you as you cried the name of some awful woman named Sue.
We didn't make it to the bed. I remember how refreshingly cool that floor was in relation to her warmth. Headache? Gone. Where's Renz? I need to talk to him. I stood, naked, member eclipsing the earth.
Come to bed. It'll be different than the floor.
I found some underwear and a shirt. It was too warm for pants. I opened the front door and the girl shrieked as she covered herself. I still don't know what her name was. A rainbow of outworlders trafficked through the busy hallway. Each of them exemplified the alien culture of their adopted homeworld. The challenges from beneath a plethora of atmospheres had triggered adaptation. Some were strange, but most were familiar enough. None had identified as Earthlings in centuries. And yet, there apparently wasn't a world amongst them where it was cool to walk around without pants on. Looking back, I think I was still very high from the night before. Now fully clothed, I left the suite and stumbled into the hall. I pushed past the outworlders before finally coming to a huge atrium filled with the gentle flutter of jazz piano. Bots buzzed around, carrying people's food, performing minor maintenance, and getting in my way. The hollow walls and ceiling gave us a grand view of the northern lights. It was nice and warm in the atrium, so I could appreciate the lights in the simulated Arctic sky. At a crescent-shaped bar that stood atop one luxurious terrace, I spotted Renz sipping out of a rocks glass. I plopped down next to him, beneath living neon palm trees. He offered half a smile, but didn't seem very passionate.
Oh, well, hello, Jack.
So, we're in space. Renz smirked at my greenness.
Very perceptive.
Yeah, we're in space, and you kind of took me here against my will while I was too fucked up to say otherwise. Seriously, not cool.
You agreed to join the team. So here we are, pilot.
He lightly bumped his fist against my shoulder. Yeah, I agreed. So, why the hell did you have to kidnap me?
I had to make sure you weren't going to kill yourself down in Vegas before you'd even had your first race. It wouldn't be the first time.
I ordered a drink. When the bartender handed me the glass, Renz took it instead and handed it back to them.
It is far too early for drinking.
I pointed to his own rocks glass. You're sipping on a drink right now.
Too early for you. Come on. I'm going to introduce you to Timaeus.
There was one thing better than a drink in hand, and that was a new AG ship. The sleek frame thinned progressively toward the nose. The air brakes were sealed flush upon its subtle wings, which were situated further behind the cockpit than I was used to. I traced the smooth angles with my finger. Its tropical blue paint, accented with sharp sunshine yellows, was delightfully cold to the touch as I circled the gorgeous craft. It was clear to me that every millimeter had been optimized to perfection. When I got to the thruster, I laughed giddily, imagining the beam trail it would leave at top speeds. Mind if I take her for a spin? Ren's eyebrow raised.
Jack, do I really have to remind you that we're in a space station? You won't have to wait long. Here's the season schedule.
He handed me a hollow paper. The date made my heart drop. My first race was in 2 days, on the planet Ager. Chapter 5, Ager. After I was hauled off to interstellar transport, there was no buildup. My body had no idea what to do with the sensation. Within hours, we'd traveled nearly 250 light years and arrived at Ager. Even after hundreds of trips, I have no idea how it all works. But I do know that the Aegean blue sphere that overtook the observation window had seized the title of Blue Planet from Earth centuries before. Beneath the clouds, tiny islands peppered the endless sea. I knew why we were here. By the time I was 12, I'd studied every archived race at Ager's famous IS League track. Like I said, dreams were coming true. The Big Island was actually smaller than the island of Hawaii, but a sleek futuristic city covered it and expanded into the water. The Interstellar League track was its centerpiece. I had a powerful urge to pilot my new ship, but the race wasn't ready for me yet, and the transport wouldn't let me back in to visit the atrium's bar. Not a drink in sight. I went to the beach. The sand was familiar, but felt almost like rubber beneath my bare feet. At the end of the beach, there was a rocky shore. I lifted a few of the smaller rocks and found what seemed to be crabs scuttling beneath. They looked as if they were composed of transparent plastic mixed with a sparkling glitter polish. Many skies I've seen since were alien enough to instill a sense of shock, but Ager's felt familiar. It was very Earth-like, although the colors were exotic in a way that was only barely beyond imagination. I thought about Sue. We used to park by the beach all day when I wasn't racing and just talk as the tourists breezed by. So many sunsets, so little time.
I bet you're fast.
I turned around to see a black-haired beauty with olive skin approaching me. I didn't know what to make of her, but I knew I was in love. I'm no racer.
Of course you are. Takes one to know one.
It took a moment for me to recognize the implication. She posed.
What? You don't recognize me?
I looked a little closer at her face, and then at her body. Oh my God, you're Cora Martinez. I'm a huge fan. I've watched just about all of your races. I didn't tell her about how I'd get high as a teenager and watch her interviews while fantasizing about sleeping with her. She was the youngest racer to ever advance into the Interstellar League at the age of 23.
Wow, I'm honored to be an inspiration.
Our gaze met and lingered for a moment. I would have made a move, but I was horrifically sober. I needed to do something before the race to take the edge off. I considered jumping into the alien-infested ocean just so I could feel.
Want to grab a drink?
Words like music. You have no idea. Cora showed me to the racer quarters. The other pilots stood in the corner, smoking as they obviously plotted my elimination. I was no idiot. Earth League worked the same way. I went right to them and talked to the biggest, baddest looking of the pilots. Where can I put some money down on a race? He blew smoke in my face.
Fuck off!
Well, you're useless. I looked at the others surrounding him. Come on, anybody? The big guy grabbed me by the arm, then somebody else grabbed my other arm and yanked me away from the group.
Are you trying to get yourself killed?
Cora said in my ear, my eyebrow raised. This isn't my first race. You know I'm the best pilot on Earth, right?
Earth is nothing.
She put a drink in my hand. I nodded for her to continue as I downed it. We were outside, and the IS League property was full of trees and plants that felt vaguely tropical, but the fanning leaves took odd shapes, and trunks were saturated in a sparkling gradient, like a colorful nebula. Something between a bird and a monkey flew between the trees. Its skin reminded me of the crabs I saw. Cora continued.
I'm from Rigel 4, so far from Earth that the Alliance uses our planet's observatory to collect the distant light of Earth for historical data.
So, where'd you fetch these drinks? We should go back for another round.
It's not just Rigel 4. The Alliance has 1,000 stations set up in a perimeter to capture and record Earth light, all at about 500 light years away. They use the collected data for lifelike simulations of the past.
Huh, that's kind of intense. But you totally ignored my question. Another half dozen plastic bird monkeys took to the air.
Now ask yourself, with your newfound comprehension of the Alliance's scale, where do you think you fit in to the IS League? If entrants from Earth and Rigel 4 are both in this race, then just about every other established planet between ours is too.
That makes sense.
And every one of those planets has a totally different culture that has adapted and diverted from Earth trends for 800 years.
I've seen Outworlders. I rolled my eyes. Her eyes narrowed.
They're at a dead end and happen to have proven a tremendous talent at racing by surviving this long. Nobody wants to risk their lives doing this unless it's the only path. The Earth is ranked 40th in the Interstellar League, and that's the best it's been for almost 100 years. Nobody here respects you. Everybody wants you dead and out of the way. To them, you are just crowding the track. So just stay quiet and towards the back of the pack.
Got it. Bar? She took a swig from a flask and then handed it to me. This is strong.
Like I said, Earth is nothing.
Wow, that did the trick. I can finally think again. I turned around and walked right back to the meeting area. I realized my mistake. Racers would only communicate with me honestly if I could get them alone. So, I found a betting man from Erebus. I didn't have much money. So, I wagered my new ship. Chapter 6. Liquid Allegiances. I felt only the slightest tug of inertia as Timaeus flashed by 3 other ships. Then, the track twisted, prompting my undercarriage levs to activate. Timaeus' levs were so efficient that I retained speed even while upside down. A ship started bashing me from the side. Timaeus warned as a craft fired from behind. I swerved left, and the ship beside me swerved right, both of us avoiding the red beam zipping by. Fortunately, it struck one of the pilots far ahead. The ship beside me was scraping against Timaeus' hull as the track went vertical. I felt sure that it was the man from Erebus out to win our bet. I took the chance to look more closely at the driver. It was Cora. She blew a kiss and bashed into me again. I overcorrected and ground against the wall, losing precious momentum. The ship that had fired the beam overtook me and was trailing Cora. I recognized the color of Erebus' team, her mod. I put the pedal to the floor and dealt with speeds I'd never controlled. Timaeus, in all its perfection, swam through the twists and turns. We passed beneath the waterfall and then rose upward against its flow. Cora's ship dropped a mine that I barely managed to avoid. I wondered why she hadn't dropped it for her mod ship instead. 2 more weapon pads gleamed on the track. They both tried to take one, but only Cora managed to. The other pad was still active, so I nudged my air brake to be sure I drove over it. It gave me a beam. Now I just needed a clear shot at the Hermod ship. I was gaining on them. Hermod was swerving, making obvious evasive maneuvers. I could only line the shot up for a split second at a time. My trigger finger was fast, but not that fast. As we peeked over the clouds, I noticed something. While I was focused on making the shot, Cora had slipped behind the Hermod ship. She should have had no problem staying ahead. But there she was, dropping further back with each moment, closer to me. Cora was working with the man from Erebus. She killed her engine and twisted to take aim. I didn't let her get behind me, and instead pinned her ship against the wall, straightening her out and making it impossible to target me. Boy, was she pissed. I motioned that I had a weapon. She knew her choices. They were standard after being found out on the track. Allegiances were liquid. Cora nodded, and I backed off. She fired her missile at the very surprised Hermod ship, destroying it. I saluted her and then sped off. I had an unused beam, and it was in 4th place. We were driving straight down towards a canopy. Then, we were in an island jungle. Still no other ships. Then, I was parallel to a sandy blur of the beach I'd explored a small portion of. The track shot out over the ocean's expanse before disappearing beneath its surface. The transparent purple plasma shield tunnel kept the ocean of another world at bay. Creatures so alien that I can't again conjure their forms from memory alone were abundant. When I came out on the other side, I finally spotted the racers ahead, approaching an island that was covered in 500-foot-tall tangles of bamboo-like shoots. I overtook one of them when a long-necked insectoid plesiosaur struck from the sea, crashing its jowls upon one of the 2 pilots ahead. The ship burst into scraps, one of which clipped my hull. I corrected course immediately, narrowly avoiding half a dozen more lunging predators. I noticed that the Digitizer had beamed the pilot back to safety just in time. There was one last ship ahead, and I was closing in. Timaeus warned. Cora was targeting me again. I was surprised, but not that surprised. She had been a champion of not 1, but 2 separate seasons. Evasive maneuvers would only slow me down, but I had a better plan. Plasma shields are an incredible technology. And while I'm too dumb to understand how they work, I do know that the boundary they generate is firm. Spacers use them to generate habitable bubbles on transport exteriors for repairs during interstellar travel. You can trust them until something interrupts the shield. After encircling the bamboo island, the track dipped into the sea again. I barely managed to stay out of Cora's range. I killed the thruster just long enough for her to catch up. She needed to think that I was planning on getting behind her to fire my own weapon. When she slowed to target me, I lit the thruster and flashed through the underwater tunnel, pumping the air brakes so that I was wobbling from side to side. It was tough to maintain control, but just as I was nearing the surface, I fired my lingering beam the plasma shields had carved away. The ocean poured through the wounded shield, bringing forth a wave that followed me out of the tunnel. I watched for Cora's ship on my rear screen. It never surfaced. Like I said, allegiances are liquid. I was sure that the Digitizer had rescued her. Water was a slow threat compared to the standard dangers of the circuit. I've seen pilots escape worse, and in this self-assurance, the second lap was mostly subconscious for me. The underwater tunnel had already repaired itself, and the water was flushed back into the sea. As I sped through, with the echoes of Timaeus reverberating through the tunnel, I saw a single ship drifting on the wet side of the plasma shield. It's tough to see things clearly at AG racing speeds, but I made out Cora, motionlessly adrift beside her drowned craft. It wasn't my fault. The track is a control anyone else's fate. No, I control the ship. Chapter 7, Interstellar League. I knew that I didn't kill her. The Digitizer should have kicked on well before she drowned. But as I toured the stars, I was plagued by images of Cora on the beach, wearing her wonderfully explicit bikini that caressed dark curves like a dream I can still taste, biting her lower lip as she deviantly planned my elimination. I'd never kissed those lips. They'd instead gone blue in that alien ocean. These thoughts were dangerous on the circuit. Into the eternally stormy mountains of Zalish, I hesitated for a full second before taking out a sloppy racer. Then, on a track built between the orange moons of Vicaris, I'd gotten distracted and hit the air brakes a little late and hit a wall. It was the only time I came in second place during the entire Interstellar League. Friends complained about the repairs for months. I handled it like I handled everything else. Maybe a little too efficiently. To tell you the truth, I don't remember much about the next 300 races or so. Just vague recollections of sky after sky, crowd after crowd, oceans and frozen tundras, sweet acid rain, women, drinks, pills, green women, weird food, throwing up a lot, a plane of liquid glass for skinny dipping, a circuit inside of a shopping mall, inside of a terraformed asteroid, and drugs. I won again and again. But I was still me. It should be clear by now that I had no altruistic intentions. I spent 7 years in that championship before coming to realize I didn't deserve to win. On Earth, we barely heard about the Civil War, but a large percentage of pilots are veterans who the Alliance had failed. They had no other options but to risk their life on the track or start at the bottom of the unclimbable ladder. I was also amongst heroes who took to the circuits to save their lineage from countless generations of soul-crushing servitude. These people had hopes and dreams, and when they were in my sights, I eliminated them. Sometimes, they would be fine. But more often, the fucking piece of shit Digitizer malfunctioned, and on the following race, I'd find myself a little more tipsy. There are a lot of drugs in the galaxy, and not a single one works. By some diseased miracle, I had not only survived the IS League, but placed so high that no matter how I performed on its final circuit, I would win the grand prize. It made me into a prime target, and I invited the hellfire. The championship began on Ager, a Class A planet, meaning its environment was so similar to Earth that no engineering was required to populate it. The following blur of races took place on planets spanning from Class A all the way down to Class E, where there were no crowds, as required when long-term habitable containment was impossible. The final race took place on a Class F planet called Medusa. From a distance, the gas giant's banded atmosphere seemed decorated by stripes of browns, reds, and yellows, but as the transport came close, Medusa's skies appeared darker than the void surrounding them. Thankfully, the track itself was in space, orbiting the ominous planet. Renz straightened my uniform.
If I catch you taking another hit off of that thing, I'm going to break your nose, Jack. There, nice and presentable.
I took another hit. He slapped the strange bug out of my hands. He grabbed me by the shoulders.
Damn it, Jack! You are one. Look at me, not the ground. One race away from winning this thing. You can live like a junkie on the beach for the rest of your goddamn days on your own private planet! But first, you need to cross that finish line. Don't push it. Stay in last place, where they can't target you. You'll win the race as long as you cross the finish line. This is unfuckupable. Jack?
I fought for balance, but the room kept spinning. The bug fucked me up. He closed the face shield on my helmet.
Get in the ship.
I had one foot in the cockpit when he stopped me.
Wait. I need to make sure you didn't forget what we talked about yesterday. If there's only one thing that drug sponge of a brain of yours absorbs, watch out for the bats.
My head cocked as I hadn't remembered the day before. He sighed and walked away.
Idiot.
I'm an idiot, but even I know that a planet's atmosphere extends beyond what is obviously visible. I'm guessing that's why I could hear the rumbling moans of Medusa. It was the voice of hell, and it craved the blood of all worlds. About a minute into the first first lap, I realized that I hated racing. I was done. It was all I cared about, and suddenly it meant nothing to me. Go figure. I didn't let the other racers get ahead. I wanted to go out with a bang. The clouds welled up like the dawning sun, but instead of light, it brought darkness and despair. Portions of the track were submerged in the gas giant space fog. Racers overcorrected and spun out, or undercorrected and smashed into walls as they blindly navigated the sections. It was a bloodbath, and as I pushed through the blackness, I expected, no, I hoped that I would be next. But I came out the other end, and in the lead. I know it's fickle, but now it started to feel good again. I dodged beams, missiles, incendiary rounds, but when they failed to eliminate me, I frowned. The itch was not scratched. Timaeus lurched as I tumbled in the air. My face bashed against the controls and blood got all over the windshield. Then I came to a stop back on the track. I shook my head and got the thruster burning out of pure habit. I was moving again, but a couple of racers had gotten ahead of me. Uniform black trails fluttered from the evil atmosphere and shot through space. They were like a school of fish, but bats, coming together to form strands. Each uniform arc moved in perfect unison, shooting down its circuit, trying to catch one of the passing ships. I watched one string of Medusa bats crash into the wall and narrowly miss the lead ship. Then another came down and tore through the craft directly ahead of me. I suddenly remembered something of my conversation from the night before with Renz.
Go over it again,
he said.
Medusa throws off certain networks. That's why the League chose it for the last race. They're trying to get rid of you, and only because you're winning a little too often and making us a lot of money. Keep your fucking eyes open when I'm talking to you, Jack. This is important. The Digitizer won't be working on this race. It's just for show. It'll be powered on according to regulation, but it won't work on Medusa. You don't have to win. Just don't fucking die. You're very valuable to us.
I killed the thruster and brought Timaeus to a halt. I control the ship! Blood ran down my face. Every pilot I had passed flew by me within a second. The schooling bats flashed all around. Many of them followed the pack of ships, killing more desperate people, but some stuck around to torment me. I powered off Timaeus. I was done. I didn't want to race anymore. Not another millimeter of track. I'd walk back if I had to. The emergency override would allow me to open the cockpit, even while in space. I reached for the emergency override, but the Digitizer claimed me instead. Chapter 8. Digitized. Every atom of my body felt infringed upon, as I was carefully yet relentlessly torn apart. I'd only been digitized once before this, and I can't ever imagine becoming used to the sensation. It was like having an itch on my DNA. It was beyond pain, and there was nothing to do but surrender to it. Worst of all, it was instantly sobering. As I was stripped away and converted into information, I still somehow had a mind. I often conflate this strange memory with the bats of Medusa Prime. I felt like I was one of those carefully lined strands of organisms, dancing to a single drum. When the last of my body was digitized, the terrible feeling had gone, and I was just a dreamy cloud of thunderous thoughts. I knew it was only a matter of time before I'd be recompiled back to the staging area, where Renz was surely pulling his hair out at my failure. But then I remembered his warning that the Digitizer wouldn't work because of Medusa's atmosphere. Just more manipulation. I would have laughed if I had a mouth. My blood, bones, skin, hair, veins, arteries, and organs weren't all returned at once, but it was nearly instantaneous. Nearly is a key word here. Coming back was extremely painful, however brief. The memory of such pain is not something that just goes away. I stumbled, naked, groaning before I finally opened my eyes. Nothing looked right. I rubbed at them, and then I rubbed at them again. I began to panic, worried that my face hadn't been recompiled correctly. I felt my cheeks, lips, and nose. Everything seemed as I remembered. Even if I was blind, I was still handsome. I was seeing a million copies of each object before me. Even as I waved my hand, I saw echoes. A trail of identical hands. Like a peacock's tail, or fanned deck of cards, each with a slightly different shade, forming a sort of rainbow, but that wasn't all. Some of the hands did not follow my original movement. The longer I looked, the less uniform it all seemed.
Jack, the racer!
The voice came from everywhere at once. Who said that? This was not the staging area, and the voice didn't belong to Ren's. As my mind fought to adjust to my surroundings, I recognized that I was in a dome of echoes. The colors reminded me of Medusa as I watched the impossible walls of Jupiter drip. Something stood out in the dome. A mess of constantly jittering and morphing metallic objects drifted from what appeared to be the ceiling. When it stopped moving, it took the form of a perfect sphere.
You must race, Jack!
I really fried my brain this time.
What?
I've been doing every drug I can find in space. I knew it was a bad idea, and now I'm probably talking to myself, and Renz is getting more pissed by the second.
We are unfamiliar with drugs, but we are no figment!
It changed form as it moved.
Species called intelligent life!
A smile sprang across my face. Wait, you mean you're a freaking alien?
In a sense, we come from the 11th dimension. You will perceive us in subsections on your limited plane, as our existence is compressed. This is the only way we can meet.
It's probably the drugs. Why would you want to contact me, of all people?
Because you must race, Jack.
Yeah, but why? I mean, humanity has scoured the galaxy in search of intelligent life. Billions of people would kill for an experience like this. You chose me? It's kind of dumb.
We are careful not to intervene. We understand you are restricted to an instance of time you call the present.
Hold up. You keep saying we. You're like an ambassador for your people, right? Let's not be so official. What's your name?
We have no name.
I brought my palm to my face. Not we, you.
We are familiar with this concept, but cannot comprehend it entirely.
Oh. I looked at the self-transforming sphere entity in another light. So you are your entire race?
Perhaps.
Well, that's intense. This has been fun, but I need to get to a bar. It's been a long day. Long decade, really. So, zap me back.
You must follow our request.
I frowned. Why?
The future of your species depends upon it.
I shrugged. I can't help you. I'm done with racing. Sorry. Zip me back.
You do not understand.
Well, you're doing a terrible job at explaining.
We apologize. It is just we must be careful not to tell you too much. The framework is delicate.
I've been taking hits off of a hallucinogenic crack bug all day. I'm not going to remember any of this. Don't worry. At that point, I think I remember the entity sighing.
We can mark your flesh to prove our validity!
Blades jutted out from the walls. All right, you're real, but tell me the truth. Why do I have to race? What difference does it make to the framework of the cosmos that a dirtbag like me is a pilot?
Jack the Racer, you have potential.
I wish my parents had said that to me as a kid instead of leaving me on the streets. Then I wouldn't be here.
Not that kind of potential. Powerful quantum potential.
I looked beside myself and realized that the faint echoes had diverged even more. I saw myself walking around the dome in every direction conceivable. The echoes multiplied. It was as if they moved with each flow of intent that I, the real me, had dismissed. I see.
If Jack the Racer does not race, trillions of lives that would otherwise have sustained the cosmic framework will perish well before their time.
How the hell is my racing keeping trillions of people alive?
It distracts you.
I thought for a moment and felt a chill run down my spine at the implication. Distracting me? You mean
in all other strands of quantum potential, you are the Emperor of the Alliance. Your war spills enough blood to irreparably damage the universe.
Shut up.
We are not familiar with...
Look, there's no way I'm that important. I'm no leader. I drink and I drive. That's it.
That is the case as you live this rare potential. But that is because you must drink and drive. It is the only alternative. In all other potentials,
Your throne.
And the universe's fate are inevitable.
So let me get this straight. Everything that could happen in your super smart alien perspective, actually happens. The self-transforming sphere entity nodded, I think. So why the hell does it matter if I race in this timeline? Won't I just be ruining every other timeline anyway? How is this any better?
The framework can only persist if at least one potentiality survives. All others are unsalvageable from your blood loss. You currently inhabit the only timeline capable of persisting. You are the greatest quantum threat.
Huh. I scratched my chin. Fine. The entity seemed surprised.
You will race Jack the Racer!
On one condition.
State your conditional branch.
I want another shot with Billy Sue.
Is that
Yeah. Whatever you gotta do, I don't care. Just give me another shot with her. If I'm good enough to be king of the universe or whatever, then maybe I'm enough to make things right. Take me back in time if you have to. I don't care.
time dislocation would inflict what you call horrifying mutilation and death? But time travel is not required for this request. When you return to your ship to finish the race, there will be a framework-altering artifact stored in your ship.
Fuck it, that sounds like a plan. Chapter 9. Coming Down. Wrens didn't like it when I requested to be transferred back to Earth's international circuit, but winning the championship made me famous. I skipped the award ceremony, the drinks, and even the girls that the Alliance barraged me with. The entity pulled through. Inside my cockpit, I found 2 artifacts. The first was an address, and the second, I kept in my hands the whole interstellar trip home. I rode up to the 1500th floor and knocked on the apartment door. I heard some rustling, but nobody answered. I kept the entity's gift behind my back and knocked again. No answer. Now I was getting annoyed. I just kept knocking until it swung open.
What the fuck are you doing here, dirtbag? I'm calling the cops.
Wait, Sue, I'm sorry. Tears welled up in her eyes despite her rage.
A little late for that. Go back to your ships and your sluts, loser.
She slammed the door, but I put my foot in the way. 2 of my toes broke. She yelped at the crunch. I bore through the pain. Sue, I should never have left. You were right. I put racing ahead of everything else, ahead of you, and you know what? I hate it. I hate racing more than anything in the world, but it's the only thing I'm good at. And I just have a hunch that I wouldn't quite be a benefit to society in any other career field. Her arms were folded tightly around herself as she looked down at the floor. Sue, I know you like sunflowers, but they don't grow anywhere else but Earth, so I did the next best thing. I revealed the vase behind my back. I picked the prettiest flower I could from each and every world I visited. I sneezed like a maniac. She was crying now. But I also know that flowers aren't what you want. You told me what you want. A family. And that's what I'm going to give you. Sue wiped away tears with her sleeve.
I already have a family.
My hands went limp as I felt my heart implode. Then, she wrapped her arms around me in a tight embrace, pressing her wet, teary face against my chest.
And you're the one who gave it to me.
I held her, at first distracted by the intensely pure warmth no other woman had ever made me feel. But I didn't quite understand what she meant. Someone was standing behind Billy Sue. I glanced upwards. It was a boy. She pulled away, now more smiles than tears. Sue put her hand in the boy's hair and urged him towards me.
Jack, this is James.
It was instantly sobering. And damn it, it was exactly what I needed. 1 year later, I no longer doubt the spherical entity. There are times when I am curious. How would it feel to be the Emperor of the Alliance? And knowing what the entity told me, could I rule more carefully than the other versions of myself had? Regardless, I've kept my promise. While my wife and son cheer me on, I race the lethal circuits.